Welcome to the worst day of my life. My name is Cherish.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Stanley. Just here being a big, dumb boy.
A big baby boy.
Oh, Stanley, you're such a sweet, snuggy, buggy boy.
He really is. He lives for snuggles. He does love running around, but his ultimate favorite is somebody snuggling him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does that blanket smell like
Probably.
the farm? The farm life?
Loves farm life. He misses, yeah, I definitely know he misses, like, living out there for sure. It makes me sad. Got to get out there more often. I wish it was just, like, easier.
Yeah. It's a long drive.
Well, no, I mean, it's just, like, work. I get so, like, wrapped up in, like, work. It's, like, exhausting sometimes. And I love it there. And it's, like, worth it because I really do. Like, I love all the people that I work with, and I love being there. I love being on the property, but it's so hard to just, like, take time to go far enough away where I'm, like, not here anymore.
It's okay. I mean, it'll be really worth coming out when it's
it's going to
sunny.
be so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want you guys to come stay. One of you stay in the African Queen, like, double-decker place, sort of, like Dave and you and Sophie and Scout, the whole gang can stay in there, and then like Kenny and I can go stay in like another trailer across the way. We can sit there when like a band's playing that night, and we do like the whole like friend, like we just like do it up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Scout's getting old enough now. She's like not newborn infant baby, but she can like chill in with you guys. Like she's it's not like a she wants like sensory. She wants sensory stuff. But it's a cool place to stay, like, for a couple of days or whatever, and I want you guys to come and stay for sure, like, when it gets, like, warmer, and it's good for your schedule, and everybody's schedule, like, the whole gang to come out, and I think it'd be fun, and we're gonna, like, like I said, like, we can have a fire, walk to the beach, not walk to the beach, hang out in the dome, go, just do whatever.
Well, what I was saying is that...
Sorry.
No, you didn't. You did not. You didn't interrupt me, but
I went on forever. I'm so excited about it, though. Sorry.
No, I love it. But what I was saying is that in the summer it'll be nicer for you to drive out to me.
Hey, so both ways. Yeah.
I want to go golfing with you.
Oh, it's so much fun.
I want to go golfing with you.
Yeah. Just me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let's do it.
I really want to.
Let's do it.
I haven't been golfing ever.
You've never been golfing?
Never.
Ever.
The closest thing I've done is gone to a driving range where you just stand there and hit balls, and that's it, and hit them as hard as you can and try to get them to go really far.
Yeah.
And the last time I did that, I was probably like 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
And my grandpa took me and my brother out to this driving range to he bought us some buckets of balls and was just filling up our little things, and we were just hitting them as hard as we could.
Yeah.
And I swung my golf club backwards behind me to hit the ball and hit my grandpa in the side of the right temple. Broke his glasses, and he was bleeding down the side of his head and fell down. And I screamed. Yeah. I screamed, and he was all dizzy, and he was like, "Oh, I'm okay." But he just walked up right behind, it wasn't my fault. So but at the time, tiny little kid, I was like, "Oh, I killed my grandpa." I was so upset about it because he was bleeding out of his head.
Oh my God.
I know, it was terrible. So it made me not want to golf after that, and I didn't want to I hated putt. I've always hated going to putt.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of injuring my grandpa.
Oh my gosh. That's that's so funny and like a weird thing for us to have like a strange commonality on though about like different reasons for being freaked out about golfing after grandpas.
What's your reason?
Oh, well, I thought I've talked about this before, but no, I guess I probably didn't with you. No, my grandpa was like this like avid golfer, and he lived, eat, breathed golf. Mm-hmm. He loved golf.
Yes.
He had a dying wish that he would die like on the 18th hole. Like it was like a strange, he was like obsessed with golf. He loved like all of, he was like all about, I think like Arnold Palmer at the time or whatever. But he was like super into this other golfer. Anyway, I was always obsessed. I was personally obsessed with my grandpa. Like I thought he was the coolest guy. He was like a carpenter. He was a painter. He was like handsome. He had like dapper hair. He was into the symphony. He could play instruments.
Aww,
he was just like always like, I just thought he was just such, he was like the epitome of like the, I don't know, like the stereotypical like men of that time being like a Cary Grant or something. He was just always like but he was very in tune with everything cool.
Yeah.
Woodworking, like making things with his hands, but he's just like, anyway.
Yeah.
He was
cool
like the
dude.
Cool dude. But he took me out, and I think he was hoping because like we shared, you know, like I loved, you know, art and stuff, and we shared our love for pickled foods and all that other stuff. But I always wanted him to think that I was cool. Like I was as cool as he was. And so we went to like the golf course and I sucked. And I really think that he was hoping that I would be like his like
his
protege,
little golfing buddy.
protege. Yeah. Like where I would like be as good as he would, like, you know. And it like I did some weird shit. I don't even remember what happened.
Was
but
it your first
just
time?
Like, no, I don't know. I think we had gone. It was just. I think we had gone out to the shooting range like before that. Anyway, I just sucked. And he wasn't that mean to me about it or anything.
Yeah.
I think maybe I was harder on myself about it because I wanted to be good, you know, at it. It's funny, like it was January like 7th or something. And he had like gone, it was the coldest day in Tucson, like to record, for I don't know how many years, but it was like, I think it was like in the like 15-degree type like range, and which for there is like super cold for people that are used to it being like a higher temperature. But they'd shut like things down, like they shut schools down, they like shut stores down. But my grandpa like still insisted on going golfing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he drove to his favorite golf course and he like went there, and I guess from what I've heard from other people, like his friends and stuff, that he had gone there and was trying to get somebody to go golfing with him, and they're like, "You're nuts, you know, it's too cold for that." So he tried to leave that golf course to drive to another golf course to go see if he could like have more success finding someone to golf with him.
Yeah.
And he like pulled out on the intersection or whatever and like had like a massive heart attack and like died like in that intersection. But yeah, but I think like he was close to what how he wanted to die. Like I feel like it was really quick.
Oh, but I wish somebody would have been golfing with him.
I know, that like always like bums me out. And the funny thing is that I had got out of school that day because it was so cold. They like closed down the schools and stuff, and I just randomly like wanted to drive over to my grandparents' house because I thought maybe my grandpa would want to make beef jerky with me because that was like something that we always did like on like Fridays. And so I was like driving over there, and I just had this like weird like sensation, like, what are you doing? Like, this is dumb. He's not going to be there. It's just like a random time and stuff. And I like did a U-turn and drove home, and my mom like came home from work, like told me that he had like died like on that intersection. But it was so fucking weird because that was the intersection that I like turned around, not the same one, but I was like a block away on a different intersection. in like the weird time that he died over there, but it was so strange. Like I had this sense like he wasn't gonna be home. You know, like I knew it. Like I knew in my heart like he wasn't there anymore. In a weird way. But anyway, he was really cool, but I always felt like embarrassed that I wasn't as good, you know, as of a golfer. Like I know he didn't care about that, but like so I do want to golf.
Yeah. Your description of your grandpa reminds me a lot of, not the grandpa that I hit in the head with the golf club, but my other grandpa. My other grandpa.
Yeah.
He was like super dapper, he had full head of hair up until the day he died, and he always like parted it on the side and had it like slicked kind of like backwards. Swoopy. Yeah. And
same with my grandpa.
He always had like he played any like stringed instrument.
Wow.
He was like incredible at, where he could listen to anything and play it like immediately. Like the fiddle was his jam, and he was so fucking good at it. But also guitar, banjo. He taught me how to play a little bit of mandolin.
Oh,
he had ukuleles.
God,
like he had all this stuff, and it was so cute because him and my grandma's amazing at piano.
Yeah,
and him and my grandma would like play music together and stuff, and they just like
cute, nuh-uh.
Yeah, they like love country music, and they like
that's so adorable.
Yeah, but when
that's so adorable.
Okay, that was heartwarming. Let me bum you out real quick. So, I was at work. At the West Olympia location of the medical practice that we worked at for many years.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call from my mom that I better get to my grandpa's house because he's going. They were all there, you know, just because we all knew that it was coming soon. He had really bad like lung cancer and diabetes. He had to have a kidney donated to him. He had to God, what is that called?
Like a kidney transplant?
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you.
You're usually
Kidney
the one
transplant?
that's able to like tell somebody like the most.
Yeah, but sometimes
I know.
You know. Yes. So he had a you know, a kidney transplant. He was constantly on having to go
like
on dialysis.
Yeah.
Like bad shape. And but they were all waiting there. He was in like a hospital bed in the living room of his home, surrounded by his children and, you know, a bunch of family. But they called me and said that you know, it's happening. You need to get here. So I was married to Dave at the time. I called him and told him, hey, I'm leaving work early. I got to finish a couple of things really fast.
Yeah.
And then I'll come pick you up. And then my brother calls and he wants a ride too. So I go and pick him up. And by the time we got there, we had missed him by like 10 minutes.
Oh.
And it was a bummer. And I was pregnant with Sophie. He never got to meet her. Okay, Megan is contributing lemonade to the salad bowl. I am contributing Doc and Yeti Urban Farms Red-Headed Stranger.
Wow.
Yeah. Washington State.
Okay.
Everybody. Do you remember buying weed from like some dude and then like it just being the driest, just little tiny pieces of marijuana stuck to these big gross stems?
Yes. Yes.
But you smoke it and get like high out of your mind.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have like theories about that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like it definitely was different back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone in our house is really into 90 Day Fiancé right now. even Patrick has gotten away from his Downton Abbey. I don't know. He
He's exchanged it for
for 90 Day
you do
Fiancé.
that. You do that sometimes.
You gotta take breaks.
Yeah, you gotta go.
But he was like the funniest person to be watching that. Like he's really good at letting me know what's going on in a TV show.
Yeah.
And he'll explain it really thoroughly and be just really, like, even if I'm watching the TV show with him and I'm like, hey, wait a second, what just happened? Because I wasn't fully paying attention.
Right.
He'll like explain it to me in just the best way possible, where it's like succinct, but he, detailed enough to get everything that you need out of it. But it's so funny when he's talking about Downton Abbey, because it's like, Lord so-and-so and wishy-washy, I don't know, whatever. They're just really old-timey, snobby British people. And he's like, so this chick wants to bang this dude, but this dude actually wants to bang this other dude. And they're like, but the way he just describes it, it's like a completely different experience than if you were to watch the show. Like, I prefer his retelling of it to actually watching the show, because I can't really pay attention when it's... I love British shows. But the old-timey British shows I have a really hard time with for some reason. Period pieces.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it might be time to tell a story of yours. Mm-hmm. If you're in the mood. You can totally say no. A story of yours where you were doing the chat roulette thing.
Oh.
Totally up to you. If you want to share that story.
Okay. I just want to tell it to the best of my memory, because I feel like that's important to just really include all of the other details, but it's the further it's getting away from when the chat roulette situation happened, it's I have to go back to that place. Okay. And now it's further in the past. But I do know that it started when I came home from work and I go into the living room area, and my child, amongst several of her friends who I all knew, I knew all of them, they were all in the living room, laughing. There was a particular boy in the friend group that was just pacing back and forth, super uncomfortably. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And they were like, Mom, look, show them your tits. And they lifted the laptop, which was my laptop. And it was a guy who he was jerking himself off with
the screen of the laptop.
On the laptop with a giant boa constrictor guy.
What?
Yeah, and he was trying to convince them, my child / friends, to give him titty shots, because at the time he had a boa constrictor and a baby chick or whatever, and he was saying that if they did not show him their tits, that he would let the boa constrictor eat the tiny baby chick in front of them. It was this weird, it was a crazy scenario.
Whoa.
Yeah. Fucked up situation.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm. Which they knew was wrong,
right?
Surprisingly,
which is why they
intelligent teenagers, but they thought it was funny to turn the camera towards me to show him my tits of a non-child. Tits.
Got it.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep. He was looking for 15-year-old tits.
Right.
He was going to get a face full of...
here's mom tits.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I wasn't into it, automatically. I have no idea what they're doing, and they think it's hilarious. So I talked to them about it, and they explained to me what was happening. The But they were just really, like, Savannah and her teenage friends were way, way more open about stuff than I ever was at that age. Like, her and her two closest friends, you know, were doing things like figuring out how to forcefully make themselves queef. Yes. What? Yeah, that was like another time when I came home and they were like, Mom, look what we did, look what we learned, or whatever. And they're all laying on the bed in like succession, the three of them, and they all forcefully queefed. And they thought it was hilarious. Like they taught themselves how to do that. And I was like, what is wrong with you guys? I was like so modest and not even wanting my mom to ever see me in a bathing suit. And then I have like a teenage daughter, like, and her friends all like queef buddying, doing Omegle, sitting out in the front yard. I remember her friend like flashed me one day when I came home from work.
Weird.
Yeah. Really weird. And I was like, I was polar opposite of all of that. I was so freaked out.
I don't want anyone to ever see my body ever.
I hated that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't even want my mom to see my naked body. She's like, it's okay. My mom's such a like a nudist lady. Yeah. Like, be, you know, free with yourself and whatever. And she's like, she thinks I'm like very conservative compared to her because I'm always like, have to have a towel on me, like shorts, everything. And so it's like, what the fuck? But Savannah and her friends were just so comfortable with themselves, and I thought that was great.
That's awesome, in,
like many a way,
right?
And I think they did, and like when they went out and stuff, like I think they were very keen on people. It just like freaked me out so bad. So anyway, the Omegle started with that day when I came home, and then they all like went out and did something, and I decided that I was going to get on Omegle myself. Like, I wanted to know, like, what Omegle was.
Explain what it is for people who might not.
Okay, so it was very brief. Like, I don't know too much about it other than, like, honestly, like, this occasion and then maybe a couple other, like, friends showing me, like, going online and us just laughing and watching through porn videos. But it was basically, like, a chat room where you could send videos, almost like Snapchat, I think, were like instantaneous, but you couldn't record them. That's how people could get away with like doing certain really like, you know,
acts.
Yes.
Right.
And so, because it was like unrecordable, just kind of like the minute that somebody like shut that down, then that image or that whole video would be gone.
Right.
And so there was, like, it piqued a curiosity, I guess, with me, like, where I was like, oh, well, like, you know, like, that sounds kind of, like, fun. And so I got my vibrator at the time, like, shut myself in the bedroom, and then got on the Omegle chat roulette thing. And I, like, went on to, like, it's just basically, like, I don't know, you log in, and then suddenly it'll just, like, show you, like, images. And you can, like, forward yourself, like, flash forward, you can, whatever, get to some things, like, because there's people doing different things.
Okay.
And they're different people. Some of them are just, like, hanging out, chilling.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get to, like, this dude who's jacking off. And I'm like, oh.
Okay, that's what you're looking for. Okay.
So then I go and put or I start to, like, you know, put my vibrator in my butthole. But for whatever reason, anytime anything tries to penetrate that area of my body, I have a problem. In this case, it's like immediate explosive diarrhea. Like, it opened the floodgate of explosive diarrhea.
You pushed a button.
Well, I was trying to, yes, the button in my butthole, but I was also trying to push the button of, like, the off or anything on my computer, but I'd shat all over it. It was covered in explosive diarrhea with the screen and everything. I'm trying to wipe things off just to even shut it down. I just close it. I honestly wonder if there's just this person walking around on this earth. Like, it's like...
There is.
Yeah.
That was the other,
And if I'm ever gonna...
side. The other side of that story.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute.
Where's my shitting princess?
Yeah.
I'll find her someday.
That should be a reality show, like long lost, like Omegle loves or something, like
Craigslist misconnection.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
exactly.
misconnections for him, but you don't know where he was in the world, right? Or do
But those misconnections happen for so long, though. On like all of those things, I kind of wonder if they are still like if you can find them.
I was in one.
And then try to send. I remember.
You do?
Your
Okay.
McMinimans.
Yeah. No, it was before McMinimans.
Before the McMinimans.
Yeah.
It was before the McMinimans.
Yeah. It was just when I worked at the old Spar.
Oh, the old Spar. That's where I get it confused. I get the old Spar confused because isn't that called the Spar in Olympia? It's attached to the McMinimans.
Yeah, they left
the old Spar.
So the Spar was a restaurant in Olympia that had been there since like the early 1900s, where like the log yard people would come in there and eat and stuff. And they kept it like relatively the same. And I got a job there when I was probably like 19 or 20. Me and my like cheating boyfriend moved back to Olympia.
Yeah.
And I went down there and got a job as a bussing tables. And then from there I started waiting tables there. Mm-hmm. And then it was like things were just kind of falling apart there, like literally.
The building itself and everything too?
Everything it was gross. Mm-hmm. And it was like people were letting things slide that shouldn't slide in a restaurant.
Oh yeah, I hate it when that happens. That's so.
And there was like rats,
horrible,
and there was like this whole swarm of like flies, like little gnats. This whole swarm of them in like the back like smoking section. That like if you were waiting tables back there, you had to like hold your breath when you walked through that like swarm of bugs that just lived in that like
I'm sorry,
spot.
it's not funny, but I can totally
so
see
gross.
what you're saying.
No, it is funny now. But like it was a super old building, it was super gross, and like we all, even after it became illegal to smoke in there, the owner was like, he was like a big cigar guy. Like that was his thing. So he like
I love those people.
Yeah, he made the back bar closed off and we would go back there and smoke cigarettes. Mm-hmm. He was like so that place was owned by this dude and his wife, and I think it just started really kind of falling apart, and he was just kind of not into it anymore and didn't want to deal with all of the headaches that came with it, and kind of put it up for sale. And then the McMenamin brothers bought it.
Okay.
And then when they bought it, they went through and interviewed all of the staff that was there already.
Right, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so they kept most of us.
And that's how that one lady was still there for, what was her name? Gina.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's why she was still there.
Yeah.
And like they kept me, and they kept, a bunch of other people, and they hired on new people too. But the coolest fucking thing that they did is that they closed that restaurant for like 3 months straight to renovate it and like fix everything and make it in their style like they do, and turn it into a brew pub and all that stuff. And they were like, so you can either go get unemployment if you want, or you can go work in one of our other restaurants and be all trained up and ready to go, and you can live in one of our hotels. Whoa. We will pay for your room.
Yeah.
We will give you a per diem for like food or whatever, and you'll just work in one of our restaurants, in Portland. And you can do that if you want. So my brother was one of the people that got hired on.
Oh.
Okay. And I had already worked there. So my brother and I lived in one of their hotels in Portland for like 3 months and worked in their like established restaurants. Yeah. It was fun. But Why were we talking about the spar?
We're talking about like people that stalker people or lost Craigslist misconnections.
So when I worked at the old spar, one of the other busters that worked there told me, she was like, "Hey, I found this Craigslist misconnections post and it's definitely about you," because it was like, I had a really short like pixie cut red hair, and I was the only person there that looked like that, of course, and that's what they said, like the redheaded girl with short hair or whatever, and I cannot remember what it said or whatever, but basically dude was just like kind of sitting there creeping on and watching me a lot. I met up with him in like a public kind of setting, and I remember just being kind of like turned off by him. He was really quiet and awkward and just I don't know, just gave me the creeps. I just decided not to, but so smart to meet in a public place with other people. I met him with I was with friends when I agreed to meet him. But then even after that, he kept coming into the restaurant. He would sit at the counter. There was that big long countertop, and he would sit there and drink cup after cup after cup after cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And write in a journal and just sit and would watch me walk by and watch me walk by, and then I would have to wait on him because he was a customer there, so he was just really short and kind of awkward with me, and it sucked. It was creepy. It was creepy as fuck. But living in the McMinimans place was awesome and creepy as fuck too.
Yeah.
Because the place where we were was the Kennedy School. Have I brought you there before?
I've been there.
Okay.
Going to Portland before.
Yeah. So we stayed there and worked there at the restaurant in the Kennedy School. And it's a really, really old place.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. But it's it's known to be haunted or, I don't know, whatever. I was opening the restaurant in the morning with this other chick that was training me. She had to teach me how to use all the computer systems and how to do everything's the same across the board, because there's so many locations of that place. But she was showing me how to open the restaurant in the morning, and we had to pour these big, huge it's a huge rectangular
a vat
cooler thing, with a spout on it of iced tea.
Oh yeah.
So we would we'd make those and fill them up, and they're really big and they get really heavy. So two of us holding them together was perfect and easy, but one of us, it would be really, really hard to move it around.
Yeah.
So we both did it together, and we filled the thing up, put it up on the counter, and we're there standing next to it. She's showing me how to do some stuff on the computer, and we're the only two people in this place.
Yeah.
Just to the left of us, where this huge, heavy canister of iced tea is, it goes suddenly flying up into the air.
Oh my gosh.
Flips over, lands on the ground, and starts spilling all over the ground. The canisters have these huge clamps that go over the lid and clip onto the lid, and then you push it down and it locks on. So the lid is on seals in there,
Yeah.
So it's ka-chunk. And they're on there like that. And this thing is heavy as fuck, and it just went flying up in the air and landed on the ground and was just spilling all over the place with the lid totally open and off.
Whoa.
And we both looked at each other and were like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And she was like, stuff like that happens here sometimes. It's just kind of part of it.
Damn,
we had to just clean all that stuff up and start over. But
Oh, wow. Yeah.
my brother and I, in the room that we were in, walked in to our room and hear an old lady's voice coming very clearly from inside of our dark room.
Yeah.
And she said, hello? Mm-hmm. And we go, hello? And like started to close the door because we were like, oh my, are we in the wrong room? What is going on?
Yeah.
And we didn't hear anything else. And we like check the door. It's our room. Go in there. There's nobody in there. The lights are off. We turn everything on. There's nobody. It's fully empty. But that voice, like both of us very clearly heard it.
Yeah.
It was inside that room. It was so weird.
Right. Yeah.
But other than that stuff, it was really cool. Staying and working there.
Yeah.
But that shit was creepy. Have you ever had any like ghost experiences?
Oh,
Ghostly?
yes. I mean, I think the like first like weird ghost type phenomenon was basically just explained to me, like kind of like how we're talking about it right now. Stuff that my mom and her sister went through, like growing up and playing with a Ouija board inside of my grandparents' house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they would also frequently play, like as sisters, they would go and play in the cemetery that was right next door, which is like also where my best friend and I used to play and do, like great
Creepy
stuff.
ass kids.
Yeah, but my mom and her sister were pretty much born and raised in that house. But that house had been in the family for a really long time. It was next to a cemetery. And as kids, they all used to like play at the cemetery and in the mausoleum. And it was like close to like a, riverbed. And it was just like a, I guess, place to hang out.
Yeah, cool, cute, fun.
And then I moved there when I was like still in I was in junior high. Or I guess middle school at the time, because I was like 12, fifth grade. And then eventually we started like hanging out more frequently. Went to the same high school and stuff, and I met this person named, oh God, I don't remember her name now. It's really scary. Anyhow, I made a friend in high school whose name I cannot, I think it was like, God, that's so weird. But
We're old. It's okay.
yeah, I guess so. But at some point, for some reason, she had invited me over to her house. It was like way far on the east side of Tucson, which was like always kind of known as being just sort of weird over there in terms of like it was just kind of a like that area.
Sketchy
I guess
part of town.
Well, even just historically, like it was kind of known as like a kind of like haunted area of just the land. Like the land wasn't happy in that area. So anyway, went out to her house, and I didn't know her very well. Rachel, that was her name, Rachel. We decide that we're going to play with this Ouija board, and it starts out just like very basic, general kind of questions, saying like, like we were trying to figure out who's going to be our boyfriend, stuff like that, or whatever. Just dumb like things that a girl would ask when they're whatever at that age.
12,
I think at that time. Well, I was older than that then. Like it's like somebody I met my freshman year in high school. I don't know. I went through that whole huge backstory. Just other than like, I don't know. It was just like a familiar experience. It sounds really weird.
Okay.
I think I went through that whole Julia experience to try to in my own mind like explain why this was just extra weird.
Okay.
But, so anyway, so we're playing with the Ouija board, like it's saying things to us, like, basic stuff, like answers to stupid questions that like young girls would ask at that age, like 13, 14, just like, does so-and-so, like, are they into me? And like, whatever, who it was. And then it said it was, Aunt Diane. And it kept like spelling that out. And then it started going to this like weird, like the things that were like spelling out or whatever. It was like talking about how this person like like killed her entire family, like weird shit like that. Really weird shit.
Cool.
Well,
I mean,
you would think.
Yeah.
You would think. But then there was a point where, and I trusted this person enough, like that they weren't doing something like weird with anything. But we were no longer touching our fingers or anything. Our hands were not on the oracle, and started doing like crazy like figure eights. And then something on her like dresser like flew across the room. And we at that point like just freaked out, like 'cause we could see it, like it was obvious. It was just me and her.
Yeah.
Super freaked out. And then I think she just grabbed the board entirely, everything, and she like threw it into the closet. And we thought, like, maybe the amount of time that had passed of us doing that was, like, very short. Like, you know, at most, like, you know, 15, 30, 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, a very short amount of time. But it was, like, over 3 hours. 3 hours had passed. We had no idea how to account for all of that time passing. Yeah, it was weird. And I remember, like, going home. Like, after that, I think someone came and picked me up. But from that moment forward, I felt like something was constantly behind my shoulder. Like, I felt like something was following me, like, at that point. The mother of the girl that I had played with the Ouija board with got in this crazy car accident where her car flew off the road of the house. This was after we had played with the Ouija board. My mom did not know who this woman was, but a car was like going fast down the road, flew off. My mom luckily saw it happen, was able to call 911, and they said if it wasn't for my mom, like calling 911, because they had to come, they had to jaws of life, air vac her out of there, that she would not have survived. But it was so freaky because that was the girl that I had played like with the Ouija board with when we had all this like crazy stuff. Yeah. Ugh. I don't know. It was just crazy times. And like, that's what I'm saying. It was super weird. That friend and I like continued to hang out through periods of, I think it was like freshman year in high school. And she suddenly like had to move to like Pennsylvania. And so like during around or after this time, like she just like moved. I think her family might have even have like been from there. But I remember years later like reaching out to her and being like, hey, like, do you remember this stuff? And we had a correspondence for a minute. I really don't actually know what happened to her, but I think like there was a period of time where like she went through like a struggle with drugs, like after those years, like of going back to where she was from.
I wonder if her mom was okay.
Oh, she ended up, I think, being okay, because I think we did like touch on that. It was just like a crazy thing because, yeah, my mom could tell you about that like more in her words, whatever. Like she was looking out the window and just saw like a car like flying off the road. I don't remember like the total circumstances. It was just like all these strange coincidences with this friend of mine, and any of the pictures that this friend of mine and I took with each other like during that period of time, which, you know, my mom's always been like really like a little bit out there, but she took all those pictures and like burned them and was like we looked evil. Like there's something wrong with us at that time. Like the pictures that we took following that incident. And then that led to going to like a metaphysical store like downtown Tucson and getting like a
sage smudge or something.
Well, it was like more than a sage smudge. It was actually like really uncomfortable, but I'd like gone into this store called Angels from Heaven with my mom in Tucson, and it was just like a super metaphysical store. And we walk in, and this woman, like, she was like on the right hand side of the store, and she was like said something about the claws of the beast like holding you or something weird, and she like looked like right at us like when we walked in. She said something like that, something about the claws of the beast. Again, my mom would be able to tell you better, the story. I was like 15 at this point, and I was just like, what? I'm gonna look at some quartz or something over here. But my mom starts talking about this to this lady and telling her, like, something's not right with me. And then the next thing I know, I have a woman standing in front of me and a woman standing behind me, and they're both making me like repeat these prayers with them because they're saying I'm like something, I'm like possessed essentially by something. And so according to my mom, you know, I can't speak for that because I wasn't seeing from the outside perspective, but she says that, and I felt like crazy immense like pain and tugging on my back. But she said that I like went, like my body was like at this like crazy angle where I was like I didn't fall, but I shouldn't have been able to like, you know, be in that position and not fall. Like it was like something was like, I was being like suspended.
Weird.
Yeah. And the crazy part of it is that one woman that was standing in front of me, she told me like, you know, if you like feel like signs of like sickness in the like next coming days, like in the next coming 2 or 3 days, like vomiting, diarrhea, any of that, like basically like you need to come back and see us, because they kept saying like this thing is not wanting to let go.
Is that why you still have diarrhea
I don't know.
all the time? You have a permanent
It's like
shit
I
demon?
have a demon. I have the demon permanently in me. But it did freak me out because I did get sick. Like I got so sick. Like I got really sick the couple following days, but I was like 15 and I was like, this is bullshit. You know, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Whatever. But still, like, things continue to happen to me. And, like, to the point where I really did truly think that I was going, like, full-blown, like, insane.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that happened following that is I like, spent the night at, like, a couple of, like, really close friends of mine, house. And that we were, like, all, like, hanging out. And suddenly my voice was, like, totally different. And that I was like saying some weird shit to them that I had like no recollection of, like zero. And it wasn't like a drinking, like we weren't drinking, we weren't doing drugs, like we were like young. We were like, because I remember like sitting there looking at them, like all looked like white, like you know, like they'd lost all the color to their and they're like, why would you say that?
What
and I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, and then I started hearing voices.
Oh my god!
Like weird, like computer synthesized type voices where it was just like drawn out deep, like not human, but it was just like my voice, my name or whatever. But it's like Megan, just like drawn out, but not human, and it would be like all encompassing sound. Like you couldn't pinpoint like what direction it came from, but I guess my friend Julia. She was always just like kind of like, you know, skeptical about things, but she and I were sitting there in the house that I was living in after that whole like thing happened with like my mom and that woman, and she heard that crazy synthesized voice like with me, and it was just like this strange validation, like it wasn't just me. Like we like both like locked eyes and was like, you know, like it was not just me hearing that. And then it's same kind of thing, like when we still lived in that place, my horses lived there and they were always like shaking. They were always shivering. They were like always like ramming themselves like into, we actually had to just like, I think eventually move them out of there because they weren't happy. Like it was like, my horse Joe, who was just like this old, like, you know, should have been just like in his later years in life, just like, you know, hanging out, standing there. But instead he was just always like thrusting his body against the fence and shaking. Yeah, it was crazy. He was always like shaking, whinnying, like he could never get comfortable when we lived at that house. But that was all during that crazy time of like the Ouija board thing, and it did seem like for a while like it had opened some kind of fucking weird shit. Yeah. And that like stuff continued to happen for like a long time, like anywhere I moved. Yeah. I thought it was like, that's why I thought it was me. Like I was like,
because it was
like
attached to you.
And I know that sounds like totally crazy.
No, I've heard that from other people before too.
Yeah.
Yeah. That things have like followed them. I've had a few experiences and they were definitely like tied to a location where they didn't leave that location. Thank goodness. But
yeah.
the apartment that I lived in with the cheating boyfriend that I hit in the face with the book really hard.
Yeah.
We lived on the top floor of that building, and we would hear footsteps above our head all the time, and not just like someone was like walking on the roof. I mean like stomping, like angry, like right over our heads, like crazy, scary, like thunderous footsteps on the roof. And there's not like, I mean, he went outside and went, backed up far enough into the parking lot where you can see the whole fucking roof.
Yeah.
And there's nobody there. And then that same apartment, like, things would turn off and on. Candles would blow out when there's no window open at all.
Yeah.
And then this one, I was in the kitchen, walked into the living room, walked back into the kitchen, and my, like, freezer was wide open. I had ice cream that was smeared all over the fucking wall.
Oh, what the hell?
Yes. And like the freezer doors like swinging open. I was the only person in the house. I had 2 cats, but they were like, fucking cats.
Yeah.
My cats were freaked out all the time too.
Yeah.
And one night I was sleeping in bed with my boyfriend at the time, the cheater one, and I opened my eyes and looked at him, and I could not see his face, and I was laying right next to him.
Yeah.
But his whole face was covered in this like thick, dense, crazy black smoke that was like swirling around his face. And then like stuck up into a point like above his head, like it looked so fucking weird.
Yeah.
Just this big smoky weird mass, and I was like, what the fuck? And like kind of like swatted at it, and it like dissipated.
Yes. I mean, I know what you're talking about. In like a totally different situation. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I slept at my parents' house a lot when I lived at that apartment.
Yeah.
Like I went there a lot, and I, took care of things and then would go sleep elsewhere. I was so freaked out there. So then right after that, we moved into this other house, the black house. It was us and a bunch of our friends, and it was like this beautiful house when we moved in. When we were the first group of people that lived in that house.
Oh, okay,
so
gotcha.
it was really nice when we first moved in.
Yeah.
We were in the upstairs portion. We had like, a whole bunch of roommates and whatever, but all of our roommates experienced different things in that house. And that house was especially creepy. There was like, all of the doors had little weird latches that you could push in where the door could open both ways so that you couldn't like barricade yourself in the doorway, because it was like a mental care facility.
Oh, yeah.
Place.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So all the doors, had all these weird latches on them, and there was just like places that had like drains in the floor and stuff that just seemed weird. And like our room, my bedroom in that house was up above, it like hovered above this other bedroom. It was like supposed to be, I think, like suicide watch or something, because you could see into the room underneath it. So we had to like set up this whole curtain system and like all this stuff. But anyway,
jeez, holy shit.
My personal like experience at that house was my friends were having a party outside in the backyard, which is like far away from my room. I'm basically on the 3rd floor, and this party's going on basically in what would be the basement.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So it's like it's really far away from me, and everyone is out there. And I was working, I think, at Starbucks at the time, so where I had to get up at like 3 in the morning or something stupid to go to work sometimes. And I wanted to sleep is where I was at. And I turned on a movie and like started to fall asleep on my couch. And I woke up to someone screaming my name. My ear was ringing. Screaming my name into my ear.
Yeah.
And I was, what the fuck? And I opened my eyes and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
I go down the stairs and look, and there's nobody in the fucking house. Like, there's nobody there.
Oh, God, yeah.
Everyone was outside. We had another incident where, like, a bunch of our dishes got broken.
Yeah.
Another incident where one of my roommates woke up screaming because he saw faces, like, screaming at him in his face when he opened his eyes.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. It was a scary house. But
there's like such a weird timeline, but when you were talking about like the mist thing, I lived in the place that I'm pretty sure I've told you about that was called like the bakery, that was like built in the early 1900s and served and operated as like this old bakery, but they eventually renovated it into different like units. And
cute.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think for a while it served as like, it had a really broad history, but I know it served as like different things, like a brothel and like a flop house,
Cute.
just like different throughout the years. The first apartment that I lived in, a man had been beaten to death with a shovel, like right outside of my apartment door.
Cute.
Like what would have been my, back in the day. He was beaten to death outside of there. And and there was a man who was wrongfully convicted for the crime of beating this man to death with the shovel, who was actually like a friend of the guy. And so he was exonerated. He was like somebody that had served like a long-term prison sentence for this murder that he didn't commit. But after he got out of jail, he would come and annually like commemorate the life of his friend by like kind of setting up a shrine with like a picture of him and like, lighting candles and stuff, and like set up his own shrine like outside of the door, basically right where, but that was like my also
your apartment
door. So there's always people setting up shrines and stuff, like burning candles outside my door, but that was that one. But one night I had like a friend stay over. This was the first time we experienced this thing. But I had, it was a he friend, and it was actually the son of the woman that owns that apartment complex at that time. And I had him stay the night, and we like watched like a movie. I think we like snuggled on the couch. Like, I think we just like basically fell asleep on the couch and we were like snuggling. But I woke up to this person freaking out, just like, I thought he was having a seizure. Like his body was like convulsing. It was like so intense, and all he could say like over and over again was like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. And he was like freaking out. And again, like, this is a person we weren't like, if anything, like maybe have like a beer, like way, like he was not like, drunk, stoned, fucked up, anything on any kind of thing, but he was like having this like crazy, like his, like, I felt it through his body. And he said like when he finally like kind of got to like normalcy, he said it felt like his body became this like wind tunnel, like internally, like he felt like something like was like pushing so much like it was like air through his like mouth. I don't know, like just,
weird.
And just like, and like where he felt it like going like surging through his body and like couldn't get control. But it was weird because I felt his body like having those convulsions. And he was like, and then when he was like describing what was happening to him internally, I was like,
that is so scary.
Yes, it scared the shit out of us. And so that was like the first thing that happened. But then I kept living in that apartment complex. I even moved back to that apartment complex years later. And that was when I had the experience with the mist, where I was like up in my bed, laying down, and it started out feeling like my feet became like the most frigid cold that I'd ever felt before. And my feet are usually really cold.
Right.
But it was like
because of your thyroid.
Yeah, but it was like because of my thyroid and like whatever. But at that time, like it started out with my foot or feet, and then it just like moved up my legs, where it's just like this intense, like cold feeling, and I could feel it just like gradually like moving up my body, and then all of a sudden it just like landed on my chest and like held me down where I could not breathe. And
that's a real. Oh my God.
Yeah, and so it was just like it gradually, and then all of a sudden it like presented its face, and it was like the black mist. And it was like choking me, holding me down, and then I like made eye contact with it. And the minute I made eye contact with it, I watched it just like
dissipate.
Fly across the room. It dissipated in the process of flying across the room. It like disappeared into nothing. But that moment it had like eyes. Like it had like made eyes, but they weren't like, you know, like it was just like this weird
I have a podcast episode for you to listen to. It's called Paranormal.
Okay.
And it's about the
mist.
The podcast is called Paranormal, and the episode is called Sleep Paralysis. Mm-hmm. But that exact thing is like, there's like folk tales and stuff about that creature, that sleep paralysis creature, and like what it does to you. And it's very, very similar to what you just described.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Hate it. Hate stuff like that. Hate it.
Yeah. Well, but the weird part about that, aside from that, was that my neighbor, who lived a couple like apartments away, had just given birth to like she had twins. They were like 6 or 7 months old when like they started doing like weird stuff, where they were like in that same apartment complex. They were like a couple doors down, but they started like just like reaching and grabbing at things and like kind of like laughing, like they were like, it was almost like they were being like entertained by something. Like if they were laying in their crib and had like a mobile going around, and they were just like, oh, you know, like laughing. And then all of a sudden their face would shift and they would just start screaming in like bloody terror. Yeah. And the whole family thought there was something neurologically wrong with them. They had to go get all this testing done. They thought maybe they had like a seizure disorder or something. They had like, they took them to all kind of neurologists, all these things. But it was like, it didn't make sense, because they'd just be like sitting there just like, oh, you know, like laughing, having a good time. And then all of a sudden just like something like, it was like they were being burned.
Holy shit, Stanley.
Like they were being like burned alive or something, and it was just the craziest shit. But like people just kept experiencing stuff. Like everybody that we lived with in that apartment complex had like crazy experiences that were very, very similar to that. I think I've probably had like the sleep paralysis thing happen to me like 3 different times in my life.
That's my worst nightmare. Hate it. Hate it.
I think that's like, I don't know. Like I think at some point after like all of those strange experiences, because I was like wondering why it seemed like these weird things were always happening to me, and I felt like I was like cursed, or there was something like, I don't know, just like I was just like some like crazy person, weirdo. But at the time, like way back then, my Aunt Kathy, who I haven't even seen or spoken to for like years, she explained that I was just like an antenna, that I was just like at that, like attracting things to me that were just like the good, bad, and in between. And that as you age and mature, you start being able to like decipher like good, you know, energy versus not like when you're young, you're like still so naive. So it's
Yeah.
like it's the same in the spirit realm. Like you're still capable of just like drawing and all like this like weird experiences or happenings. You know, you don't have a way to like protect yourself at that point.
Yeah.
It's like maturing. Because I definitely don't have those things happen anymore.
Whew,
but
God, me
for
neither.
years, they were definitely happening. Like,
Yeah, I had a very specific period in my life where they were happening, like just that small period of a few years. And I've lived in way, way older, way creepier buildings that I know people committed suicide or, were murdered in, and never had any other experiences in those places. But
Yeah.
I think certain people are definitely more sensitive to those things than others. And
if you
maybe
invite
just certain
things in too, you're like, I think that my friend and I definitely just like in a naive way, like at the beginning of all of that, when we were like not knowing what the hell we were doing, and that was like the difference, like too, with my friend Julia. I think at the time she came from like a very like supportive, like loving family structure, and this other friend of mine, like I think we related on that level, like where she didn't. So we were just kind of like getting into like this like weird dark, I don't know, like thing. Let's go do all of this like stuff that's like,
let's feel witchy.
yeah, exactly.
Super
like,
witchy.
Yeah, we got super witchy. But I do think we were like inviting like certain things that we had no idea at that time, like what you're really doing.
Yeah.
Or being like, oh yeah, like,
Well, I mean, 9 times out of 10, you play with a Ouija board, nothing happens,
Yeah.
That's not...
But in the grand scheme of things,
Oh
they do tell you like to, properly say goodbye, and, to respect, like, that you opened up some kind of weird portal or dimension or something to something or somebody or whatever. And I'm not saying that that's like the explanation for anything that happened to me, but I do think like there is something to be said about, like not being so naive, being respectful. Like if you're like, like some dumb kid or whatever, I don't think that like kids are probably just like thinking about like the spirit realm.
It's not something to fuck with.
It's just not something to fuck with. Yeah.
The spirit realm ain't nothing to
Ain't
fuck
nothing
with.
to fuck with. Thank you.
There we go.
For what I could not say myself.
It's been
That's
a
what I
long
mean.
night.
It really has.
We've been recording for like 12 hours.
No.
Let's go watch 90 Day Fiancé with Sophie, okay? All right, Stanley.
Stanley,
That sound good.
you go nighty bear boy.
Nighty Bear Moon.
Nighty bear boy.
Put on your little
nighty time.
Nighty Bear jammies. He's so cozy.
He really is. He's such a good snuggler.
Yeah. Say bye with me real quick. Keep your microphone on for 1 second.
Hold on. Okay.
Okay. Okay, and then let's do a closing one.
Nighty bear.
Nighty bear.
You shush yourself.
Oh, well, yet again, thank you for listening. We appreciate it so much.
Yes.
I really do. We've got quite a few listeners now. You can find us on Facebook. We have a group. It's just called The Worst Day of My Life. You can find us on Instagram. It's called The Worst Day of My Life .podcast. You can email us stories about the worst day of your life at theworstdaypodcast@gmail.com. And just remember that it could always be worse. And we'll see
you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.